Welcome out to another episode of Meet the Cast for It's All Been Done Radio Hour. This is a venue episode, which we've done before. We've been at Boxland for quite a while, so we wanted to talk to the people behind Boxland about the theater, so you get to know more about what it is. Let's start by introducing the people here in the interview room with me. Mr. Founder.
Hi, I'm Ben Neidenthal, founder of Boxland and Boxland Media.
Yeah.
And I do other things too, but that's...
I think I've heard you on Radio Hour.
I am on Radio Hour. I am, yes.
You are
I
a true
usually
member.
play myself, a guy who dies in Universe Journey,
Mm-hmm.
or somebody with an obnoxious accent.
Yep.
So, who also dies sometimes, usually. I like dying on the show.
You die a lot on the
I
show.
do. I enjoy it. So...
And then we have Mr. the Podcast Guru.
Oh, well, hi. I'm Joseph Butler. I'm a fun guy.
You're a fun guy? Like
Well,
a mushroom?
I think of him sort of like, there's baseball statisticians that kind of keep the constant, like they know like the block scores and everything like that. Mm-hmm. Joe is that for Radio Hour. He's sort of, he knows like, oh, well, no, then this happened and this happened. Yeah, he follows it very much like he follows professional wrestling. I
do follow professional wrestling very heavily, but I do follow Radio Hour fairly heavily, which was pretty cool how it started because it just kind of like, it was a bit of a fly on the wall conversation, but then after a while, I just kind of like, oh, well, I picked up on a few characters here, and then, well, that was a pretty good story there, and next thing you know, I'm deeply entrenched into all these stories, so it's pretty solid.
And you recently had your first, small guest role on Radio Hour.
Yes,
Which,
yeah.
first of many, hopefully.
I played Old Joe in the Ballad of Boxland, and I had the worst voice I could possibly make.
Oh, I liked it.
Oh, well, thank you.
And then the newest person to Boxland in this conversation is another familiar voice.
Yes, hello. I'm Shane.
Shane.
You said Radio Hour? What's that?
I was going to say, you said new voice. I was like,
New voice
not
to
Radio Hour longer than anybody else.
I mean, this is the Radio Hour podcast, but the episode is about Boxland. So from a Boxland perspective, you're the new kid on the block.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm the production manager here, and so I do a lot of the surprise tech stuff you would have never guessed.
I would not have. I mean, we could say Boxland stole you from us, except they didn't steal you because we're all still collaborating, which is great. I think we should start with how did Boxland start? Impetus behind it.
So Boxland started when about, it's going to be 10 years in April.
April 2025.
Yeah.
Cool.
My wife and I we graduated from the Columbus College of Art and Design, and we both got jobs in the local ad agency world, and both of us ended up being laid off in the same week from our respective ad agency jobs, and this had been going on for a long time. This is kind of how the agency world works. They bring people in, and then after they've been there for a couple of years, they lay you off, and you go someplace else and kind of rinse, repeat. And we had a 1-year-old kid at home at the time, and it was kind of like we're looking at this kid going, we can't keep doing this. So we can't be fired if we start the company and we own it. And that's literally how it started there. And it turned into, we did mostly commercial video production for a very, very long time. It was mostly me in a garage with curtains. We eventually kind of got into podcasting. That's where Joe jumped in with us and started handling a lot of the podcasting, and that's grown by leaps and bounds. And then in 2023, we decided to expand ourselves into a much larger space, much larger space, more than twice the size, because we had shows like Radio Hour that were coming through and using the space as a stage. It's not really a theater so much, but it's a stage and it's a venue for performance. And we've got a great audience space, and so that's kind of the short history of the whole thing. So yeah.
So speak to about the work that you did in your early days. You said it's mostly commercials.
Yeah, so it's a lot of TV commercials, which I don't do as many of anymore, and I think that's mostly because TV commercials in general are so outrageously expensive to just be on TV. But a lot of animation, and that's where, when I went to CCAD, that was what I did, was animation and film is what the major is called now. At the time it was called time-based media studies, which nobody knew what the hell that meant, and I had to explain it every time. So I said, it's film and animation. That's easier. But we do a ton of animation. I'm a big animator and animation fan. which of course voiceover and that sort of thing as well. I was almost always the voiceover on everything that we produced. But our first thing that we did was actually a short film called A Sphere in Boxland, which was about a character who was a sphere, who lived in a place called Boxland, where he did not fit in, and everybody else was different than him. And one day he gets fed up with it and goes to find a place where he does belong, and eventually finds somebody who is like him. And that was the end of this short film story. But for Boxland, it's sort of become kind of the motif of not everybody that we collect around here, collect is the nice way to put it, I think, but like, fits inside that box, fits inside that neat little box. We're all spheres in Boxland, so to speak. And, that's the kind of folks we like to work with, are the people who are the oddballs, so to speak, to make it an accidental pun. But, so, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And that sphere is your logo.
It is. It's Justin Anderson is his name. There's a lot of weird lore behind that as well. But yes, Justin Anderson is the sphere, and he is he just kind of represents the spirit of what we do. So.
You want to tell us about the mythology of Justin Anderson?
Sure. So my student film, which I won't name because it is out there and it's not great and not my favorite, but when we made that at CCAD, we had to, in order to render the whole thing, rendering was a huge process at the time, we used the computer lab. We pirated the entire computer lab to render our film, and in order to hide it, if it was underneath any of our project folders, somebody would have gone in and basically deleted all the files because it was taking a huge amount of space. So we made up this fake person named Justin Anderson and stuck him in some sort of weird little side folder because we figured somebody named Justin Anderson not going to raise any eyebrows, and it didn't. So in the final credits of the film, we credited Justin Anderson with helping on the production of the whole thing. And then, as tradition has been, he's been included in all of the credits of all of the films and other various credited projects we've put out there ever since. I think he has an IMDb credit, if I'm not mistaken, at this point. So, yeah.
And now we're telling the true story of
true
Justin Anderson on Radio Hour, that we did not consult with you at all. But we're letting you play Justin's.
That's nice, yeah. And I was like, what voice do I do? I just do my usual voice for it. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes. So, yeah. That's sort of the weird history of how we got to be what we are.
And how long was the company going before Joe came in?
About eight oh gosh.
I don't know.
It was about the same time that you guys started doing the show.
Uh-huh.
So, and I was thinking about that the other day. How long ago was that? Because I don't know. Time's gotten into that smeary thing for me. I can't really.
3-ish?
Fall of 2022. So it's been
really
2
that long?
years. It's been 2 years.
I was. I don't know about that one. Well.
You might have been there before.
I was there. Okay, because it was the semester before. I was there spring of 21.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because
So
I
you were there like a
joined
year and a half.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
Before.
Oh
Okay.
shiznit.
Were you an intern first?
I was an intern first.
Mhm.
Yeah, I needed an internship bad at the end of my program, and we were right off the heels of COVID. So a lot of the major audio production companies weren't looking for interns. And I mean, I never wanted to do like music production as a whole. I always was interested in video and TV and film. So I kept looking for like video production houses, and I mean, I was knocking on doors, I was, sending out emails galore, and I just wasn't getting anything back. And I stumbled upon Boxland's website, and I saw Ben and a couple other folks. I think Nick was on there at the time, and I was like, oh, wow, there's a former Cap grad. Maybe there's something. And I sent out an email, and Ben responded back in like 10 minutes, and he was like, we don't usually do interns, but you could come in and interview.
How'd you get him to respond in just 10 minutes?
That's a good question. I was less busy then. Now you're lucky if I get back to you the same day, honestly.
It was funny. I showed up to the interview, and I was wearing like a button-up and a tie.
Mm-hmm.
And Ben was like, please don't wear that if you continue to be around here. I was stiff. I was nervous. I came in the old studio. I was like, oh, this place looks like really nice. And, I had the Hollywood wall, and for the listeners who had been at the old space, they know like it was really nice. It wasn't huge, but it was nowhere near what we have today. but like there was something special there. There was a community there.
Mm-hmm.
So it was pretty cool to actually see the environment. And I had a couple other folks reach back out by that time for different, like another video production company and another audio production company. And I was like, I don't know, this place just seems pretty cool. So I stuck with Boxland, and we've been there ever since. But like, yeah.
Well, you and I hit it off really quick.
Yeah,
Like,
fairly
it was
quickly.
very clear from almost the start that like Joe was one of those people that ran the serious risk of chatting with all day long, and sometimes we do that where I'll just go into his room to check on something, and the next thing I know, it's 2 hours later, and we're talking about wrestling or something like that. So that happened yesterday, in fact.
Yeah, that did. That did. Blame Dave Bautista. You know, that's a whole other thing.
I blame him for everything.
As you should, you know. But yeah, no, it definitely hit it off, and that's kind of my story of how I got to Boxland. But roundabout, I think it was spring 2021.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay.
because we're coming up on my 3rd year, so it couldn't have been 2021.
Okay.
I think it was 22.
Must have been 22, be my thinking.
Because I hurt.
When did you graduate? What year did you graduate?
That's an excellent question.
I don't know. It feels like anything since 2020.
Oh, wait, no,
It's
I
like
joined
the
in
same
20
period of time.
I joined in 2019, fall of 19, and I was there for 3 years. So, fall of 22.
Yeah,
Yeah.
22.
So I joined spring 2020, 22.
Yeah.
Not
tracks.
that far before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not far before Radio Hour.
About 6 months or so.
Yeah.
Maybe less.
Yes.
Yep.
When Radio Hour came to be there, because the theater we were at before had to move out of their space, and so we were shopping around for a new location, and Ben was the DM for our Dungeons and Dragons.
Always Dungeons and
yeah.
Dragons around this place.
And so one of the characters you did was a Scottish accent, and we were like, "Oh, you should audition for Radio Hour."
Maximum Ogre Crush, and he had a Scottish accent,
Yeah.
and I did the accent, and Kristen was like, "Hey, would you ever want to do this?" I was like, "Oh, that sounds fun as hell. Yeah, I'll definitely do that." So, yeah.
Now, did you ever go to
I don't. I feel at the time when you asked, I was like, oh, I've definitely seen that show once or twice, and then when I got down there, I don't think I ever actually.
But you joined when we were still at the old location.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, just for the sake of accuracy, we were not shopping around. We just
that's
were.
right. That's right.
We were like the old theater was in a location. We really liked the company and the people that ran it, but they had moved to a location that wasn't convenient to our audiences, and we weren't getting audiences there. But that may have very well been post-pandemic slump too, because we had just come back from the pandemic. So we were when we heard that Ben had a venue that might be in line, as you did, there were voice acting classes going on there. Yeah. And we're like, oh, this might be a really good community move. And I was so nervous to talk to the Red Herring people and tell them that we were leaving because I felt really bad because they were so good to us. Yeah. And then when I told them, they're like, oh, that's a relief. We were just about to tell you we weren't able to stay in this space. And we were trying to find a way to...
Yeah.
They were actually looking for us to try to secure because they're that nice that they weren't just going to leave us high and dry. So I think that story makes them come out really well. So I have no problem telling it.
Yeah,
again, nothing but love for Red Herring. If we'd been there a little bit longer, they would get an episode like this. And if they actually aren't operating right now, or else I would go retroactively and talk to them. Hopefully they'll come back because they are awesome and they do really good quality work. So, but yeah, so we. I don't remember who said it. Maybe you or Kristen, because you guys knew Ben, said, talk to this guy. Yeah. Check out the space. I came and visited you. We had a pretty good conversation. Yep. I thought we got along pretty well. And you said, yeah, come join us. Yeah. And it was wonderful.
Yep.
Yeah. It was.
You were particularly sold by the bathroom in the middle of the room. That was
that I will say was a huge negative. It took us back.
It was basically one of those units that was the office in the front, garage in the back, and I made the garage into a curtained studio. But also in the back was where the bathroom was, which if you're in the audience, it's like there's the audience, there's the stage directly in front of you, and then like off to the right hand side is where the bathroom is. When I say like off to the right, like it's not down a hall.
No.
It's not
right
in a different area.
Everyone's
it's
saying
like
the audience can see
right
the door
there,
because
and
it's
so
2 feet
like
away.
you know,
I will say we were flashing back. I was flashing back to our Pack Rat comic early days where the bathrooms were similarly right there next to the audience. There were 2 instead of 1, but they were right there. And then there was also nowhere for the cast to go waiting for the show to start other than to mingle where the audience was. There just wasn't any place to hide. So those were some of the drawbacks, but we really liked the people people in the place, and thankfully got to move with you to a space that's bigger where we can go higher. The cast.
And now it's that the space here has evolved quite a bit too. So obviously it's a lot easier for the cast to have some backstage space and kind of and find some places to mingle around before the show and that sort of thing. And now we've got a bar too, which is super cool. So we can sell drinks.
Yeah, and the nice thing was moving into this space, being part of, Radio Hour, and then coming on board for Boxland. It was really cool to be able to help shape the space with Radio Hour in mind, not just like let's find some space for all your crap. Like it was cool. I can actually carve out a little area for
and obviously it was we wanted you to feel at home and that sort of thing. But also like Radio Hour is kind of a great stress test for any other shows that we can do in here because there's not a whole lot where we've got like 20 people on stage and multiple mic assignments and lights and the whole thing, and so like being able to have that is like it has to be able to do this gives us much more flexibility to have smaller bands, things like that through too.
My favorite part is as the tech director for Radio Hour and the production manager tech person for Boxland, sometimes when I'm setting up Radio Hour or vice versa, if we need a cable for Boxland, I'm like, I approve borrowing an IABD cable as tech director. I'll put it back later.
He has his own internal bureaucracy. Yes. But I'm glad you do too, because there are things that like Radio Hour owns, and there's things that Boxland owns, and like one of the things I've always had issues with in the past is like sometimes like equipment gets left places or not returned properly or whatever it is. Shane's very, very good about all that stuff, and honestly the tech in this place would not exist without Shane doing all the things that he does.
I do think it's a little bit over the top that he makes himself fill out forms and triplicates to transfer one item to the other and back.
I make him do that. So he asks why all the time, and I'm like, I'm just gonna shred the papers, but I don't care. Do it. So
saving up confetti for parties.
Yep, there you go. That's all.
So Shane, as he kind of mentioned, came on board right about the time you were moving. Do you want to talk about the decision to move and hire and all that stuff?
Yeah. So like we kind of got to this place where like Radio Hour had kind of taken over once a month at the old space, and which was about 1,500 square feet, which is not huge at all. And we had several shows where we had a packed audience, and I would say in that space that was like 25, 30 people. And it was enough that it was like, I mean, and the 20 people on stage, so you got 55-ish people in the space all at one time. And it started getting to a place where like we were also doing some classes, we were also doing video production and podcasting, and the podcasting was also taking off quite a bit. And we had to keep changing the same production space over and over again, multiple times a day. And it just got to the place where it's like we're wasting time just building things again and turning it back into what it was before. So we thought it would be great if we could kind of spread this out and make it a little bit more conducive to everybody's needs. And when we found this space, which was conveniently and inconveniently a mile up the road, conveniently from a moving perspective, inconveniently from a mail perspective.
The addresses were pretty similar, too.
The other address was 6665 Huntley, Suite K. This one is 6155 Huntley, Suite J, same zip code, and we still have food that gets delivered to the other place. We still have people that show up at the other place and say, your place is permanently closed. And so it's, but we got this place, which is 3,800 square feet, and there's plenty of space for Boxland Media, which is the for-profit side of things, to spread out into the first couple of rooms. That's myself, that's mostly Joe, who does a lot of podcasts for clients, that kind of thing, and then he has a production room. And then we have the main stage space and the audience space and the bar, which is kind of used for the venue, which equates to, I think it's like 2,500 square feet, so it's a large space. And it was kind of everything that we needed. It was big, wide open. There's walls where they needed to be and not where they didn't need to be. Yeah. The only real construction we had to do is, and I'm pointing, this is great audio, but there's a window we put in the podcast room so we can see into the control room. That's literally the only actual physical construction we did to the space to get it ready. That and so much paint.
Mm-hmm.
So much paint.
Yeah.
But
I
once
did
we got
not
in
have
here,
to do a lot of the painting. It was fantastic.
Well, you tried, and then we quickly were like,
and we quickly said, Joe's going to stick to audio production.
Dude, painting was so hard. Like,
it's a solid move if you did it on purpose.
Yeah, well, yeah. I
It's
will
sort of
say,
like doing the dishes wrong so you don't have to do it again in the future.
sort of a hidden Easter egg. There's a few places around Boxland where you can see my work in action if you look at the ceiling tiles above corresponding walls, and you just see a bunch of little, like, multicolored splotches on the ceiling. Because my whole technique was to take the roller with the extended handle on it, so it was like a 6-foot handle, and I just did big sweeps up and down the
Floor
wall.
to ceiling.
Floor to ceiling. It was
Literally
great.
floor to ceiling.
floor to ceiling. And
I will-
2 days later, they tapped on my shoulder. It was like, I'm gonna need you to clock out for me. But yeah,
Joe, I say this all the time. Joe is the smartest person that works here, no question at all. He's also the worst wall painter that works
oh
here.
dude,
so,
it is. It's ridiculous.
I love the man, but yeah, but once we got in here, speaking of walls, like one of the things we realized very quickly is we have a hell of a lot of walls in this place, and so it quickly becomes, it'd be great if we had some art in here. What if we had art in here? So our friend Kristen Green also went and set up a whole gallery in here called the Stargazer Gallery. And now we have featured artists from Central Ohio who have art hanging on the walls. And, I mean, we've done a couple different changeovers for that and had a couple different launches for that. And it's been very successful there as well. So kind of turned everything into kind of a full round, around the horn arts facility altogether. And it's weird in that sense because there's other arts facilities in Central Ohio and there's one in Worthington as well. That's larger than us, but this is it's very kind of independent and indie and small and scrappy. Scrappy is the word. Yes.
So people can come in, view local art, and buy local art if they so desire.
Yep. You can buy it, and all 100% of the proceeds goes right back to the Central Ohio artist who created the art. Several of the artists who we have sold paintings for are people who have been on Radio Hour. Elizabeth McElharney has sold three or something like that. We've had a few others
with
sell
art like that.
and and I mean it's really, really cool to see that because it's just like all we're doing is hanging this cool stuff on the walls and people are saying that's what I want to have and you know it's that makes you feel good on the inside, you know. So
Let's
Just
talk-
saying.
Sorry. Go.
My last thing is, I mean, you can view art, you can buy art, but you can also create it. Here with a lot of the creatorship programs and with the the podcast studio and things like that, we try to be open to pretty much everyone's idea in terms of if they come through the door and they want to make something, we will find a way to make it happen. Even from crazy stuff like astro projections and stuff like that. Like it makes no sense.
Astral projections, we're doing that. That's a little metaphysical.
I mean,
but no, we have an artist who's coming in next year she's done projection mapping, and she has this whole gallery that she's setting up with projection mapping that'll be all through our space here. So it's going to be kind of a complete transformation. But it's all done with cool projectors and cool imagery and stuff like that.
Interactive.
And, interactive, and you can touch all of it and walk through it, and that'll be in, I think, April of 2025.
I think so, yeah.
So,
But, yeah, I mean,
we'll see
we've also had
stuff.
people who come in and do, like, live painting things here and all kinds of stuff, so...
Kodo Ensemble?
Kodo Ensemble. My wife is in the Columbus Kodo Ensemble. If you don't know what a kodo is, it is a Japanese instrument that you've 100% heard before if you've ever gone to a Japanese or a sushi restaurant, and they usually have this playing in the background. But it looks like a giant guitar and a harp mixed together, 6 feet long, and it's this beautiful ethereal music.
Just amazing.
And my wife is hooked up with a couple people in the Central Ohio area that also play, and they play a full concert with all kinds of music from history, Japanese history, all the way up through modern contemporary stuff. And this past weekend, they just had a performance where they had a piece that was written specifically for them by a Japanese composer, and they played it, and it was easily one of my favorite songs that they've had. So they're incredible, and they're good partners with us as well. And so, yeah, we're very fortunate to work with some very, very cool artists in the Central Ohio area.
You've had some musicians in here playing?
We have, yeah.
Like who?
We've had Lizzie Zink, who's a local artist. She is an up-and-comer, and I swear she's going to be... You're going to hear her name in big time someday. She's fantastic. Right. She does sort of modern punk pop is kind of how I'd probably describe it, but very personal, very high energy and funny, and all of her tracks that we've recorded have ended up on my main playlist. We've had a local artist named Billy Zen, who's a local legend around here. We've had other local acts.
Electro Cult Circus
has been in here.
Huge.
Who?
Feral House Cats.
Feral House Cats. Yeah. So we have a lot of musicians come through and play, long play, some other ones as well. And so they come in, they'll do concerts out here, or sometimes they just shoot like promo videos, and we just shoot it like it's a concert, but with the band up there rocking out, so they can build a demo for themselves or just build a music video, whatever it is.
And what other kinds of performance? I know there was a late night show here not too long ago.
Yeah, we have Joel Savage, who's Shane kind of brought him in, and you're good friends with Joel. So yeah, I mean,
I'm going to see his show tonight, actually.
Oh yeah,
it's a Halloween show, so I'm all Halloweened up right now.
His doctor show.
Yeah, but yeah, no, it's a new concept where it's like a late night talk show style thing where he brings on guests, and it's hilarious. It's
a lot like local TV used to be back in the 90s. It's kind of what
cable access style, but live, and we record it, so eventually it'll be out, somewhere. But,
but our studio space allows for the capability of having an audience and the video side of it, and really making it like almost a full TV studio experience here. And that's something we're trying to get more and more into to kind of expand that out.
Yeah, the streaming video is an element you've added recently.
Yes, yeah.
So for most performances that are here, you can now watch at home as well as come in.
Yeah.
Tell us why you shouldn't, though.
You shouldn't, because being in a room with other human beings and watching a show of any stripe, watching art be performed live in front of your very waking eyes is an important aspect of being a living human being on this planet. And supporting other artists in their art is more important to them than almost anything else you can do for them. Writing thumbs up on a social media, sharing, all of that stuff, that's very nice. Be there. Put your butt in the seat. Sit there and clap for their thing. Holy cow. It makes a huge difference.
Now tell us why you should stream it at home.
If you live out of Central Ohio, first of all, that sucks for you. Central Ohio is literally the best place on the planet Earth. But if you can't get to a show or, whatever it is, you can go online and you can stream it. There's links for each individual show. But if you go to boxlandmedia.com/events, you can see all the stuff that's coming up. And most of those things, if we're selling tickets to it, we'll probably be streaming them. So I
can say as a parent, it's also nice if you're trying to put kids to bed not hiring a babysitter to turn on the stream at 8 o'clock and watch it at home. While I would rather be here in person, I may not have seen the show at all had the stream not been an option.
Right. Yeah.
So,
and it's a great way for you if you are one of those, and I have the parent thing as well. If you can't be there, like being there in any kind of supporting way is huge. And again, likes and shares are great, but if it's a video where it's like, hey, look, here's my friend. They're doing a rock concert, or here's my friend. They're on stage doing It's All Been Done radio hour, sharing that with anybody, because all it takes is just one person to pick it up the right way. And we were talking about this earlier today in our staff meeting. Sometimes you do a thing and you don't know what the end result is going to be, but you've planted a seed, and then a year and a half later something comes across your table, and all of a sudden you've got this cool project that's coming, and it's because you just did the thing back then. So sharing these things, sharing them with other people, gets it in front of the audiences. And honestly, if you're online, Radio Hour is definitely the show for you in general. It speaks to that sort of mentality across the board. So sharing it and putting it out there, you're helping local artists, you're helping build a show that is created locally, and you're supporting with a lot of love.
And something to say, because we are talking about nonprofits and local artists that don't make a lot of money, if you're streaming from home, you really should buy a ticket for every person that's watching, and not just one stream price for your household.
Yes. Yeah. That would be the couth way to do it. And
there's no way to police it, but on your honor, please buy per viewer.
Do the good thing, but if money's so strapped you can't do it, fully understood. That's the way it goes sometimes. But, hey, support your friends in the arts because the world is not kind to artists. And all 4 people sitting at this table can attest to that 100% across the board. So any kind of love you can support artists with, especially people you can see what they're making. They're literally showing you, it's support it. That's important.
I do want to talk more about the podcasts that go on here because we haven't talked much about it, and I know there's a lot going on.
That's true.
So, Joe, tell us what podcasts are here, what you're working on.
Oh, it's a lot.
And you have a Boxland podcast network as well.
Yes, we do. It is a network of shows that we use to cross-promote other shows. We bring in shows that we do things that are, like, say you already owned a show, and they come in. We can take the tech out of the way and just kind of let them do their thing. Say they needed to start a show from scratch, we can do that. We've done everything from, like, graphics to early recordings, helping with guest promotion, things like that. It's pretty enhanced as a all-in-one encompassing
Video and audio.
Video and audio deal. Some of my favorite shows that I'd like to kind of shout out. One of the ones we do is with Broadway's own Tom Christopher Warren. He is well known for his roles as Mufasa on Broadway in the Lion King musical, and he's done I think like almost 30 episodes already of a show called Thank You Half Hour, where he just talks to a lot of his friends from Broadway, talks about their stories, how they can inspire other artists that are trying to get into theater, and that's a really, really impactful one.
And how long is a Thank You Half Hour?
It's just a half hour.
Lame. Lame.
He loves to say it's a half hour. Yeah. It's really like Thank You 40, Thank You 45.
Yes. That makes more sense.
Yeah. He'll be like, sorry, friend, it's already been a half hour. We've got to cut you short, and we're at like 56 minutes. I'm like, all right, Tom. Okay.
I mean, as the guy that runs Radio Hour, which runs 90 minutes, I just wanted to check.
Yeah.
But that's one of those shows where it's like I'll walk in halfway through the recording, and he's recording with somebody like Kristen Chenoweth, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
She's on the screen.
She's on the screen. It's a Zoom. She's not sitting in the studio, but like he's talking with Kristen Chenoweth.
That's amazing.
There's one day we walked in. There's a guy named Jeff Zimmer who does a podcast out of here. And I walked in one day, and it's a guy named Seth Godin was on his show. And Seth Godin's like a marketing guru who I've followed for most of my career. And like nobody else is really going to recognize him on sight, but like I had a full-blown geek out moment because I'm like, that's Seth Godin. That's unbelievable. Oh my God, he's on a show on our now. It's so cool.
Yeah.
So, and that's the power of the podcast too.
It's pretty dope. Some other shows that we've produced. Why are they all eluding me in the moment? There was one of the shows that we've worked on previously was the Power Up Project with Jason Tharp. I love his show. You should go out and listen as many times as you can.
He's producing it independently now, which I don't mind telling people because like he's an amazing person who has an incredible story. He was diagnosed with brain cancer, given like 3 months to live, and blew past that mark like multiple years ago, and now has this really super inspirational podcast. It's great. We also have the Amplify Worthington podcast, which if you don't live in Central Ohio, you're probably like, what is that? It's a local civic podcast that just deals with the Worthington area, which is we're in Worthington, which is a small suburb of Central Ohio, Columbus, Ohio. And Worthington, it was the Worthington Area Chamber of Commerce. There's a guy that we know there who said, it'd be fun to do a podcast, something like that. And Joe and I tag teamed him and put him into a position where it's like, yeah, you should do this podcast, and here's the idea. He sold it up the line, and now it is one of our most successful and regularly high-yielding podcasts that we do.
Oddly enough, it's one of the funniest ones, too.
It
makes
hilarious.
No sense how these two, fairly stiff gentlemen from the Worthington Chamber of Commerce in the city talk to all these folks throughout the city and make it entertaining.
Yes.
But it is entertaining. I think one of the best comments that they ever had was, "This doesn't suck."
Yeah.
It was like
there's no reason that show should be as entertaining as it is.
That's high praise from the internet.
Yeah.
It's high praise. But yeah, the work that they do, it's literally just connecting with a lot of their residents from the Worthington area, whether it be through like Q&As about the deer population or talking about like the state of their pools. They've actually found a way to make it entertaining and pretty much sustaining, which is hard to do for podcasts.
And especially for something that is based on, like, it's a local civic podcast. Like,
Yeah.
it's not something I would seek out, but, like, now that but I would definitely listen to it now that I know what the content is. I don't live in Worthington. Obviously, we work in Worthington, but, you know, and it reaches people, and they come back every single time there's a new episode. We get people who will tell us that they listen to Amplify Worthington, and they love listening to it. That we did one episode last year, was their Christmas episode. The hosts couldn't be on it, so I sat in and just goofballed around for like a half an hour. And people get like, I saw you on that episode. It was a really fun episode. Really liked that one. And it's wildly successful.
Pretty cool stuff. And then the last one I'll shout out is one of the newer ones that we're doing here. It's called She Ventures Out. It's hosted by Kiana Williams, who is just a guru in terms of like life coaching, and her whole podcast is based around kind of building yourself better from a corporate perspective, and then also venturing out into other roles, not being afraid to like leave a job that you don't like, or a situation that you're in, or a relationship. So it's just good advice and coaching in how to better navigate your work in life. And it was like, this is very, very cool stuff, and she's doing master classes and everything like that. So her community
it's been growing
is
fast. She just came in probably 2 months ago, something like that, is when she first came in, and tons of episodes, tons of content, and a lot of growth too.
She's released like 10 episodes, and she's at almost 500 total downloads, which is very good to see out of a show that just starts, because we always tell folks, like, you start at zero. It is very hard to build up an audience, but she not only has built up an audience, but a community of folks that will kind of venture out with her. So it's pretty interesting stuff.
Sweet. I think we should also talk about the Creatorship, which is the program, one of the programs that you have here.
Yeah, so Boxland is also a nonprofit, which is very cool for us because it does support Central Ohio multimedia art and artists. Multimedia means basically anything you can see with your eyes or hear with your ears, and we're pretty loosey-goosey on that definition. But essentially, we started a program here called the Creatorship Program that is $69 a month. And if you're a local creator, you pay that, and you can use the space as co-working space during current standard business hours. We're going to be getting some additional things to make that an expanded offering before too terribly long. But it also gets you deep discounts on the services and products that we offer here at Boxland as well. So like if you want to rent the studio space to do a show, if you want to do a podcast, if you want to do video production, or do an animation thing, or just record voiceover, record an audiobook, or do a master class, you can do all of those things. And it gets you a deep discount that basically covers the cost of the employee who's there to do it. And that's essentially it. Then we help you produce the thing, and if your thing is successful, then it helps you. That helps us because we helped you, and everybody wins.
Nice.
So,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. I see you got a bunch of notes. What have I not asked you about that you want us to cover?
Oh, man, I've always got a bunch of notes. I've learned that in order to keep things in my brain, I got to write it down. But Boxland, I would just basically say that our focuses are really, we're a venue, a gallery, and a studio. Mm-hmm. From a venue perspective, it's an entertainment venue. People who do shows, that includes some limited theater. We're not really a theater. We're theater adjacent is probably how I would describe it. But we're great for shows. Radio hours is a great example of what you can do with a lot of people. Music bands. We've done parties. We have a wedding coming up for somebody who's actually in Radio Hour next weekend.
I think you sell yourself a little short when you keep saying you're not a theater, though. I mean, you have curtains, you have lights, you have backstage area, you have bathrooms, you have concessions and a bar. Like, it may not be a traditional theater seating, but it's a really cool space to perform in.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. And that's what the vibe we wanted to put out is. It's a place where it's not your traditional theater where there's a stage and there's an audience and the two are separate and there's wings and all that stuff. There is some of that to a degree, but there's also a high possibility that as you're walking back to go get a drink from the bar, you might bump into somebody who's in costume who's about to run out on stage and do a thing.
Sure.
And that's kind of cool. For some people, that might not be as cool. I don't know, but I don't know. I like the overlapping of the arts. So And then we mentioned the bar, and the bar is it seems like kind of a weird add-on, but if you're at a show, if you're at a comedy thing, which we've done comedy things, you want to have a drink or two, and we wanted to be able to provide for that. So Shane, shout out to him, went through the arduous process of helping us get a liquor license over this year.
Boy, I don't recommend anyone try to do that. It was
especially the way that we had to get it, because we didn't get a traditional liquor license in the sense that they want you to be a restaurant, and you get a bar license as well, because then you can serve the hot food and everything like that. And when we told them, no, we're an arts organization, they're like, well, what does that mean? Where are your grease traps at? And so we don't have grease traps. I've got, we
have cups of...
Right. So it shakes out. We can sell beer and wine out of cans and bottles. We sell THC drinks, not CBD, but THC. Those have been very popular. And we now can sell liquor mixed with other things in a glass, but we cannot sell you ice, because ice is food. And that means food inspectors have to come. It's very silly.
So bring your own ice.
I can't advocate that, but I won't stop you.
It's not against the rules to bring your own ice.
Correct.
As long as it's just for you and not to share with other people.
Exactly right. And you are not allowed to keep it in our freezer. But we have a lot of options there, and that all profits from the bar go straight back to the nonprofit to help support Central Ohio multimedia art and artists. And the more of that there is, the more support we have, the more cool shows, the more cool venue stuff, the more cool artists we can have come through and really fill this place out. And we have the art gallery, which currently right now it's set up with all of these local artists from Central Ohio, and we've got some amazing pieces there. We're going to be getting a lot of that stuff on the website soon, so you can actually peruse that and hopefully maybe if you're out of state and find a painting that you love, you can maybe shop for it there. We also have the ability to set it up as a multimedia gallery, and you can rent it for exhibitions as well. So. And then, of course, the studio production. Basically, we do film, animation, video, podcasts, YouTube, social media, film, special effects, marketing, branding, graphic design, all that stuff.
We do a lot.
We do a lot.
Sounds a lot. I'm getting tired listening to the list. Not tired of hearing you, but oh my God, that's so much work tired.
Well, the SEO doesn't love that either, because SEO wants to be like, what do you do? What's the thing that you do? Oh, you're an auto mechanic. Great. Well, we're 5-10 different things, and it's hard.
Can't we just be a guy? You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
So that's why we try to boil it down to
we're that guy.
venue, gallery, studio. If you remember those three things, you're in good shape. So it's but that's what Boxland is. Yeah.
Final thoughts?
It's a great place. Definitely stop by once a month, usually the second Friday,
Yeah.
from 4 to 6. It's a free creative happy hour where we've got just show up, meet other people, check out the space. I mean, we've had film composers, we've had paint artists, we've had other filmmakers. I mean, just ranges the gamut of
We're not saying Beyonce will be there, but we're not saying she'll be there.
We keep saying that that Weird Al Yankovic is invited to all of our things, and he's welcome to show up for free
He is
anytime.
in town.
He'll be in town
December 6th.
I know, and he's welcome to show up to any of our things at any
This
time.
is for you, Al.
And I will always give him a free pass.
If I'm not here and Weird Al shows up, you guys better be texting me.
I'm
in the car.
Well, believe me, there will be photos, and a lot of them.
I want to get here before he leaves. Text me immediately, please.
Done.
So, but if you want to check out what we do and see more about us, you can go to boxlandmedia.com, and if you want to see the events.com/events, we'll get you there. But there's tons of information up there. You can also follow us on all the pertinent socials, the Facebooks and the Instagrams. Less on the TikToks, but that's okay. So, yes.
Yeah.
Joe, what else? Where can we follow? There's a BPN landing page, yeah? No?
Podcasting. Well, here's the thing, right? If you make it to the Boxland website, it's there.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. But if you are...
Making it to the website, not hard.
No.
Yeah. It's super easy.
Explore the website.
If you would like to start your own show, we can easily do that for you. If you just want to kind of joke around with your friends, if you want to give coaching advice, if you have agendas, it doesn't matter. We will get it done for you. That's the best pitch I have at the moment. Because it is Friday and I'm tired.
Yes, and we're halfway through a day of meetings here.
Yes.
No, it's we love collaborating with folks. We love meeting people who are doing stuff. Our podcasters, we work with people who are brand new starting off, and we work with people who have been doing it for a decade.
Yep.
And so we're used to handling all aspects of it and whatever aspects need to be handled. And the rest of it, we've been doing media production for a long, long time.
If you do something cool, please stop by.
Yeah.
If you don't do something cool, please stop by. We'll make it cool for you.
Yeah.
If you just want to hang out and ask Joe about professional wrestling, he'll go toe-to-toe with you for...
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you want to kill hours of your day.
Yeah.
Hours.
Yeah.
Don't even get me started. Anyways, it's a whole thing.
Cool. Well, thank you all very much, and we're grateful to be here. Think big, right?
Thank you. Think big. Yeah.
And now we can hit record.
Oh, no, we didn't record on the whole thing.
It's All Been Done Radio Hour number 499. Meet the cast number 45, Boxland. Big thanks to Ben Neidenthal, Joe Butler, and Shane Stefanchik for being my guests. I hope you enjoyed learning about Boxland. For more information on Boxland, go to boxlandmedia.com/events. And for more information on our show, go to IABDpresents.com. Have a great week. It's All Been Done presents.
Who's got the time?